So you came back to Warzone when they brought back OG Verdansk. Hell yeah. Draw, Amax, HDR. Peak 2020 vibes. Frying lobbies, nostalgia hitting hard. But once that wore off, you dipped again. Then Black Ops 7 drops. And you're like, alright, new content, let's see what's up. You reinstall, wait a few hours, jump in. Hold up, we're still on Verdansk? Still on Rebirth Island? Oh look, a new map. Wait, wasn't I killing zombies here not long ago? At that point, you're checking your downloads like, did the update even install? Because nothing looks different at first glance. Same menus, same vibes, same everything. But the Black Ops 7 integration does bring changes. Some good, some questionable, and some that feel like straight up déjà vu with a new logo slapped on. So today, we're breaking down what's actually new, and what still feels like Warzone copy-pasting the same homework. Before we even get into first impressions, we need a bit of context, because going into this year, Warzone wasn't exactly riding a wave of hype. During and after COD Next, the biggest talking point was just how dry and lifeless Warzone announcements felt, and how far away most of the actual content was. It really felt like Activision knew they were entering the Black Ops 7 year with half-baked plans, and honestly, the whole Blackout experience reveal kind of proved it. It genuinely looked like something they threw together the week before COD Next. None of the creators were even briefed about it, and instead of an oh my god, Blackout is back moment, it landed more like a confused, what is this? I'm pretty convinced that when Activision released that screenshot of 4 players wingsuiting into Avalon from the campaign, and everyone assumed it was Blackout, they just decided to roll with it. But here's the thing, Blackout is still pretty far out, which leaves the obvious question. What did we actually get with the Season 1 Warzone integration? And the answer is, not a whole lot. We got the Black Ops 7 weapons, and a new loadout system, a perk rebalance, and a new Resurgence map, Haven's Hollow, which, let's be honest, borrows a ton of POIs and layouts from Black Ops 6 Zombies. And off the top of my head, that's basically it. The moment you load in, the menus feel very familiar, and that's a good thing. They're clean, simple, and easy for newcomers to understand. First stop is weapons, because you're obviously setting up a custom loadout. And at first everything looks fine, all the Black Ops 7 weapons are here. But the moment you want to run something like the HDR, you start asking where all the old weapons are. That's when you find legacy weapons, or as I like to call it, the vault, where they've buried everything from Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, and Black Ops 6. It's basically the devs saying, your old stuff is over here, but please don't actually use it. Because none of these weapons work with the Black Ops 7 loadout system, and they aren't tuned for balance. You can equip them, but they'll be uncompetitive, and unless one of them becomes accidentally broken, they're never getting updated again. Loadout ready? Time to choose a mode. And if you want big map BR, Verdansk is your only option. It's largely the same as it was during Black Ops 6, with a couple of new POIs like Signal Station between Dam and Airbase, and Factory returning from Cold War Verdansk with a guild-style makeover. Verdansk will always be special to me. Playing on the PlayStation 4 during lockdown was peak 2020, but at this point it's lost most of its magic. It's not bad, it just isn't doing it for me anymore. For Resurgence, you've got Rebirth Island and Haven's Hollow. Rebirth is a staple that everyone flocks to, but for me it's gotten so stale it's almost repulsive. And while it's getting a makeover in Season 2 or 3, I'm staying far away for now, especially with how sweaty it gets. Haven's Hollow is the new map, and while it looks like a mashup of Black Ops 6 Zombies maps at first glance, it actually plays better than expected, sticking to a strong central POI with more open space towards the edges and a slower, more readable pace than Rebirth. I don't dislike it, it's solid. but the best Resurgence map for me is still Fortune's Keep. Let me know your favorite in the comments. Unless it's Area 99, then your comment is getting deleted. Now that we've covered where we're dropping in and what we're dropping in with, let's talk about how the game actually feels to play. In short, it feels largely the same as Warzone over the past year, just with incremental refinements and small quality of life updates, rather than a full shift. Movement is the first thing you'll notice, with Black Ops 7's slightly slowed down Omni movement carrying over. No tactical sprint by default, just jog to sprint unless you equip a perk to bring tac sprint back. I like that Warzone has slowed down a bit compared to the post Modern Warfare 2 speed creep, but nobody wants to go back to the sluggish Modern Warfare 2 year either, so this feels like a decent middle ground. Wall jumping though isn't here. I tried it, it doesn't work. So either it was never meant for Warzone or I missed the memo. Gunplay feels exactly like late year Black Ops 6 Warzone with low recoil, easy to use weapons, and the same attachment formula we've had forever. Biggest mag, longest barrel, suppressor, recoil grip, and a 2x or 3x optic, which works but is starting to feel monotonous, especially when 90% of attachments never get used. Perks did get one of the better updates this season, with underused perks buffed or merged and mandatory meta perks shuffled around, creating a system where you actually have to think about your choices instead of copying the same setup every match. It's not groundbreaking, but it's one of the more thoughtful changes Warzone's had in a while. If you want a deeper breakdown of Black Ops 7's systems overall, I covered that in my full Black Ops 7 review. Check the card above. Because in Warzone, these systems mostly transfer over one to one. Now let's talk about connection. Because it's a mixed experience. From the region I play in, queuing into standard BR is a chore, with wait times of up to 5 minutes just to fill a lobby. And because it takes so long, matchmaking feels like it's pulling players from much further regions than it should. Once you're in game, connection stability can be rough, with ping swinging anywhere between 50 and 200 ms, which absolutely affects gunfights. Packet burst issues from multiplayer carry over here too, and while it's slightly better in standard Resurgence, Map BR really exposes it, and finding solos or duo matches is basically impossible. That brings us to casual BR and casual Resurgence, where most of the lobby is bots, probably only 10 to 15% real squads. But ironically, the connection is much better, likely because the servers don't need to handle as many real players. There's been pushback saying casual mode splits the player base, especially after standard solos was replaced entirely. But I understand why it exists. For newcomers or players who only jump in once or twice a week, standard Warzone can be brutal without meta loadouts, and a chill experience where real players only matter in the final circles can be far more appealing. Speaking of casual lobbies, if you're going for the Warzone Mastery camo this season, casual mode is easily the best way to do it, since eliminations on bots do count towards camo progression. There's no reason to torture yourself grinding uncompetitive weapons in standard lobbies while sweats chase you down with fully kitted metaguns. Progression works the same as multiplayer, with weapon levels, player levels, and prestige. But realistically, I don't see many people prestiging in Warzone. Having fully kitted guns, perks, and equipment matters way more here, and resetting that progress just isn't worth it. If you want stress-free progression, casual mode is the move, just like it's been all year. And honestly, that's pretty much everything that's in Warzone with this update, which makes what's missing stand out even more. The big one is Avalon. We've already been running around Avalon in endgame for over a month. It's fully built, fully playable, and clearly designed with Warzone in mind. And we already know it's the next map joining Verdansk in rotation. So why isn't it here now? Avalon feels like the obvious headliner for the Black Ops 7 integration, but instead it feels deliberately held back to drip feed content over the year. Just like how Urzikstan stuck around deep into the Black Ops 6 cycle until Verdansk replaced it. From a business perspective, I get it. From a player perspective, it's frustrating, especially when content already exists. Another big missing piece here is plunder. This mode has been around since day one of OG Warzone, and yet, for some reason, the devs keep pulling it out and reintroducing it like it's some kind of limited time experiment. Plunder has always been the go-to mode for new or returning players. A low pressure way to learn the map, level up weapons, rank up, and actually get comfortable before jumping into BR or Resurgence. Holding Plunder back for a later update just feels like another example of content being drip fed that honestly should be a permanent pillar of Warzone at this point. There's no real upside to removing it, and every time it's gone, the on-ramp for new players gets worse. So let's recap. This update brings over Black Ops 7 systems, quality of life tweaks, a perk rebalance, Black Ops 7 weapons, and one new Resurgence map. But none of it feels like a major yearly shift. Performance and matchmaking are inconsistent depending on region, the map rotation feels extremely safe, and a lot of the new content feels reused rather than fresh. Even Haven's Hollow feels more like a side dish than the main course. So is it worth coming back to Warzone right now? For me, the answer is not yet. This integration feels more like a setup for what's coming later rather than the kind of shake-up we're used to. If you're already playing, there's enough to keep you busy. If you're brand new or super casual, casual modes might be fun. But if you're waiting for a true new era moment, I'd say keep an eye on it, but don't rush back just yet. And yeah, that's pretty much where Warzone is at right now with the Black Ops 7 integration. If you enjoyed this breakdown, drop a like, it really helps the channel, and let me know in the comments what you think about the update. Is this enough to keep you playing? Or are you also waiting for something bigger? I've got some bigger videos coming up soon. One diving into Call of Duty Black Ops 7 vs Battlefield 6 and who delivered the better experience. And another on how I changed Call of Duty and Warzone for the better, because trust me, I've got some thoughts. If you don't want to miss those, hit the subscribe button and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.